Modern combat doesn't begin with a trigger pull. It begins with coordination, with silence before the storm. On today's battlefield, war is no longer just rifles cracking and explosions tearing the air apart. It's a layered, synchronized system of firepower working in perfect rhythm, from the rifle clenched in a soldier's hands to missiles launched from miles beyond the horizon. Every weapon is connected, every movement calculated. When the US Army goes to war, it doesn't bring a single weapon, it brings an entire ecosystem built for dominance. Infantry pushing forward, armor breaking through defenses, artillery shaping the battlefield, aircraft watching from above, and drones feeding information in real time. Each soldier isn't fighting alone. They're part of a massive machine designed to find the enemy, fix them in place, and finish the fight. In this video, we're breaking down every major weapon system the US Army uses in modern combat, from infantry weapons and machine guns to anti-armor systems, indirect fire, air defense, and the technology that decides battles before the first shot is fired. And if you want more real battlefield breakdowns like this, subscribe to Veterans Gear USA and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Every modern army is built on one simple truth: wars are ultimately fought by the individual soldier. Long before tanks roll or aircraft scream overhead, it's a single infantryman stepping into uncertainty with a weapon in his hands. At the center of that reality is the standard infantry rifle. The M4 and M401 platforms aren't the biggest guns on the battlefield, and they aren't the most destructive, but they are the most trusted. This is the weapon a soldier lives with, trains with, and carries through dust, rain, and darkness. Its real power isn't raw force, but adaptability. Optics for distance, lasers for night fighting, suppressors for control, grips for stability. The rifle becomes whatever the mission demands. In tight urban streets, during long patrols, or while clearing rooms one doorway at a time, this rifle is the constant. It's the tool a soldier reaches for instinctively, because reliability matters more than brute strength. But the infantryman is never meant to fight alone. Within every squad, automatic firepower changes the balance instantly. The squad automatic weapon exists for one purpose: dominance. When it opens up, the battlefield feels different. Sustained fire pins the enemy, limits their movement, and buys precious seconds for riflemen to maneuver. The sound alone has weight, a deep, relentless rhythm that forces heads down and decisions to stop. It's not just bullets flying, it's pressure. With that pressure, squads can advance, flank, or break contact. Without it, movement becomes costly and slow. As combat distances stretch, precision becomes just as important as volume. This is where designated marksman rifles come in, bridging the gap between the standard rifleman and the sniper. Modern squads can't afford blind spots. They need someone who can reach out farther, hit harder, and control key terrain without calling in heavier support. The designated marksman isn't hunting targets, they're shaping the fight, denying movement, and protecting their team from threats that would otherwise remain untouched. Even so, not every fight goes according to plan. That's why pistols still exist on the modern battlefield. Sidearms are never the first choice, and they're rarely the preferred one. They are insurance, a last line of defense when a primary weapon goes down, when space is too tight to maneuver, or when seconds decide survival. They're most often carried by officers, vehicle crews, and soldiers tied to heavy weapons, people who can't always keep a rifle in their hands. When a pistol comes out, something has already gone wrong. Then there are grenades. Small, brutal reminders of how close combat can get. In rooms, trenches, and bunkers, fragmentation grenades clear spaces no rifle safely can. There's a moment after the pin is pulled where time seems to stretch, a breath held, a throw committed, and then violence happens fast. Grenades aren't about accuracy, they're about certainty. Through all of this, one thing remains constant: no infantry weapon exists in isolation. Every tool supports movement, protection, and survival. Rifles fix the enemy. Automatic fire suppresses them. Precision weapons control distance. Grenades break deadlocks. Together they allow infantry to fight, move, and endure. Infantry weapons may win fights, but what comes next is what truly wins battles. As the fight grows larger than a single room or street, infantry firepower scales up with it. This is where squad and platoon support weapons take over. Tools designed not just to engage the enemy, but to control space. At the heart of that control is the medium machine gun, especially the M240. Among soldiers and commanders alike, it has a reputation earned the hard way. Heavy, loud, and unforgiving, it is trusted because it works. Dismounted, it becomes a brutal anchor, locking down avenues of approach and holding ground under pressure. Mounted on vehicles or defensive positions, it transforms into a long-range enforcer capable of shaping entire sectors of the battlefield. Commanders rely on it because when everything else is uncertain, sustained, accurate fire buys time, and time keeps units alive. But controlling infantry isn't enough in modern war. Infantry must also be able to face armor. Tanks and armored vehicles still dominate terrain, and without a counter, foot soldiers become targets. That's why anti-armor weapons remain essential at the platoon level. Shoulder-fired rockets give individual soldiers the power to stop vehicles that outweigh them by tons. It's one of the most dramatic shifts in modern warfare. A single infantryman, hidden and patient, capable of disabling or destroying a machine built to break through defenses. The knowledge that armor can be ambushed at close range changes how vehicles move, how commanders plan, and how entire battles unfold. When enemies take cover beyond direct line of sight, infantry reach for firepower that falls from the sky. Mortars are often called infantry's pocket artillery, and for good reason. Lightweight compared to traditional artillery, 60mm and 81mm mortars allow units to deliver indirect fire quickly and with devastating effect. Soldiers on the ground identify a target, pass coordinates, and moments later rounds arrive from above, fired by teammates they may never see during the fight. The effect isn't just physical. The whistle and impact of incoming mortar rounds attack morale as much as bodies. There's no obvious shooter to return fire on, no clear direction to escape. It's pressure from above, sudden and overwhelming, and it breaks momentum fast. Mobility adds another layer to this dominance. Vehicle-mounted weapons extend infantry reach far beyond what a man on foot can achieve. Mounted machine guns on Humvees and Raps provide convoy security, overwatch and rapid response firepower. They turn supply routes into defended corridors and patrols into moving strongpoints. From elevated positions, gunners can see farther, engage sooner, and protect those below. In ambush-prone environments, these weapons often make the difference between a convoy pushing through and one being pinned down. All of this firepower is amplified by something less visible but just as deadly: sensors and targeting technology. Modern infantry doesn't just fight with bullets, it fights with information. Thermal sights cut through darkness and concealment, exposing movement long before the enemy realizes they've been seen. Laser designators turn distant targets into marked threats, ready for precision engagement. On today's battlefield, detection is often the first kill. Being seen can be more dangerous than being shot at, because once identified, firepower follows quickly and decisively. The battlefield is no longer flat or simple. It's layered, vertically, digitally, and tactically. Infantry units are now supported by weapons they don't physically carry, systems they don't directly fire, and sensors they may never touch. The individual soldier is still the foundation, but around them is a growing web of support that magnifies their impact far beyond their numbers. And above all of this comes the firepower that reshapes entire battlefields. When the fight expands beyond streets and ridgelines, heavier forces take control. Armored vehicles roll forward not as lone giants, but as partners to the infantry moving beside them. Infantry fighting vehicles bring cannons into the fight. Weapons designed to shred enemy positions, punch through light armor, and dominate open ground. Their fire isn't random or reckless. It's deliberate, coordinated, and timed with soldiers advancing under its protection. This is combined arms warfare in motion, infantry pointing out threats, vehicles delivering overwhelming force, each covering the other's weaknesses. Against exposed troops, cannons are devastating. Against enemy armor, they buy time, suppress movement, and shape the battlefield until heavier hitters arrive. Those heavier hitters are tanks, the shock weapons of modern war. A tank isn't just steel and firepower, it's momentum. It advances where others hesitate, absorbing punishment that would destroy lighter units. To infantry, tanks are mobile bunkers, shields that move forward while drawing enemy attention and fire. To the enemy, they are psychological weapons. The sound of tracks, the thunder of a main gun, the knowledge that direct fire can arrive without warning, all of it crushes morale, but tanks don't fight alone. Without infantry, they're vulnerable to ambush. Without tanks, infantry face fortified positions with fewer options. Together they form a relationship built on trust, proximity, and survival. Beyond what soldiers and vehicles can see lies the most decisive force on the battlefield: artillery. Often called the king of battle, artillery reaches farther, hits harder, and reshapes terrain itself. History shows a brutal truth: most casualties in war don't come from rifles or machine guns, but from indirect fire. Artillery doesn't just kill, it disrupts, isolates, and overwhelms. Fire missions are coordinated acts of destruction, planned or called in under pressure, delivered with precision measured in seconds. When artillery falls, it collapses defenses, erases cover, and breaks formations. Entire engagements can be decided by firepower launched miles away by crews who never see the enemy they strike. As the sky becomes more crowded, protection from above becomes just as critical. Air defense and missile systems form an invisible shield over modern units, guarding against aircraft, helicopters, and increasingly drones. These systems rarely make headlines, but their absence is felt immediately. Without air defense, troops are exposed, movements are watched, and attacks come from angles no rifle can reach. With it, units regain freedom to maneuver, knowing that threats from the sky are being tracked, targeted, and neutralized before they strike. Layered into all of this is the quiet revolution of drones, sensors, and networked warfare. Reconnaissance drones extend vision beyond hills and buildings, revealing enemy positions in real time. Sensors feed data into command networks, turning raw information into actionable targets. Strikes are no longer isolated acts, they're coordinated responses across units, platforms, and domains. Modern wars are fought as much with data as with bullets. The side that sees first, understands faster, and connects its weapons more efficiently gains a decisive edge. Step back, and a pattern becomes clear. Every weapon on the modern battlefield exists to serve a single process: find the enemy, fix them in place, and finish the fight. Rifles, machine guns, armor, artillery, missiles, and drones are all parts of that system. Combat today is no longer man versus man, it's system versus system. The rifle may start the fight, but modern war is decided by everything surrounding it, moving with it, and striking far beyond its reach. When you step back and look at the full picture, the scale of modern US Army firepower is staggering. This isn't about finding the single best weapon, because that weapon doesn't exist. Wars aren't won by one rifle, one tank, or one missile system. They're won by coordination, by every piece of gear doing its job at the right moment, in the right place. From the infantryman on the ground to the artillery crew miles away, from armored vehicles pushing forward to drones watching from above, each role is designed to support the others. That's the real power of a modern army. Every soldier carries more than the weapon in their hands. They carry the backing of an entire war machine built to see farther, strike harder, and respond faster than any enemy. And that's what this channel is about. Understanding the gear isn't just about specs and names. It's about understanding how wars are actually fought. If you want more real stories and battlefield breakdowns like this, subscribe to Veterans Gear USA and tell me in the comments where you're watching from.